silver will wake up from its slumber and people are going to start looking at silver. It's still heavily underperforming gold, and usually in the precious metals bull market, silver outperformed gold, so that hasn't even started yet. And that's why I think we are on the cusp of a major breakout in silver relative to gold and relative to the fiat currencies as well, of course. Yeah, and patience is the name of the game in precious metals, because the higher these precious metals go, the more people are going to wake up to the fact that our monetary architecture, our currency system is rotten.
Silver prices are hovering near 2-month highs as investors anticipate aggressive monetary easing from the Federal Reserve. During Tuesday's European trading hours, silver traded at around $30.80 per troy ounce, just shy of Monday's peak at $31.09. The precious metal's recent rally is primarily fueled by growing expectations of a substantial 50 basis point rate cut by the Fed at its upcoming meeting on Wednesday. According to the CME Fed Watch Tool, the probability of such a move has jumped to 67.0%, up from 50.0% just a day earlier, while the likelihood of a more modest 25 basis point cut is 33.0%. MarioInnecco, a respected financial analyst and precious metals expert, notes that silver is currently testing the crucial $31 level. He suggests that a breakthrough above key resistance points at $31.75 and $32.5 could trigger a significant upward movement in silver prices. From a technical standpoint, Friday's decisive breakout above the psychologically important $30 mark, which coincided with a short-term descending trend line, has provided fresh impetus for bullish traders. Additionally, oscillators on the daily chart have begun to show positive momentum, supporting the prospects for a further near-term appreciation of the silver-dollar pair. Innecco posits that the surge in precious metals may expose vulnerabilities in the current monetary system, potentially driving investors to seek alternatives to traditional central bank-controlled currencies by investing in silver and gold. Make sure to tune in for our expert analysis. Don't miss out on future content. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay in the loop. Your support is greatly appreciated.
Quite recent article, and it says London float of vaulted silver drawn down by 8.1% in August 2024. He's noting how LBMA, they vault silver for ETFs and silver for in the vaults for unencumbered silver by ETF, and that it dropped quite a bit in August. And if it continues to drop as it did in August, we could have problems in the silver market. And looking at the chart here of silver and the fact that we're testing 31 today, it looks quite interesting. And I think this chart, so we're looking at technicals now, chart looks very interesting. At one key level above is going to be 31.75. And then the really big level is going to be 32.50, which was the high earlier this year. I think once we break out of that level, things will be explosive, and I think silver will wake up from its slumber and people are going to start looking at silver, because it's still heavily underperforming gold. And usually in the precious metals bull market, silver outperformed gold, so that hasn't even started yet. And that's why I think we are on the cusp of a major breakout in silver relative to gold and relative to the fiat currencies as well, of course. Yeah, and patience is the name of the game in precious metals, because the higher these precious metals go, the more people are going to wake up to the fact that our monetary architecture, our currency system is rotten. and that's why the bankers and the central bank try to control the price so much, because it's an indicator. It's like a canary in the coal mine, or it's like a barometer, right? It's a barometer of monetary ineptitude. You and I, or a lot of you who've been following me for years, know that the central bankers, all they can do is create currency or funny money out of thin air, and that the system is not fit for purpose. But the majority of people out there don't know anything about this. And that's why they want to keep people away from the metals because the metals give you independence from the central banks.
The U.S. dollar lingered near its yearly lows on Tuesday, as investors eagerly awaited the Federal Reserve's upcoming monetary policy decision. Markets are increasingly betting on the possibility of a substantial rate cut to kick off what is expected to be the beginning of an easing cycle. The yen, which has seen the most significant depreciation among major currencies this year, can benefit the most from a dovish shift in U.S. monetary policy. Analysts suggest that a sustained break below the 140 level could pave the way for the currency to test its January 2023 low of 127.215. Market expectations for aggressive easing have surged, with Fed funds futures now pricing in a 65% chance of a 50 basis point rate cut, up from just 30% a week ago. This dramatic shift in sentiment follows recent media reports that have reignited speculation about more robust monetary easing. MarioInnecco points out that the Fed's decision may be influenced by the dollar's recent sharp decline, even with Japanese markets closed for a holiday. He suggests that if the greenback continues to weaken leading up to the Fed's announcement, it could prompt a more cautious approach from the central bank, potentially resulting in a smaller 25 basis point cut. Let's get back to the interview.
I think Asia was fairly quiet today. I think Japan and China were on holidays. But one thing I'm noticing here with the Fed meeting approaching on Wednesday, and the talk now is whether they're going to cut by 25 or 50. I see that the dollar is continuing to drop quite sharply versus the yen, even though Japan is closed. These markets trade internationally. So we've dropped below 140, the dollar has, versus the yen. So I think things could get quite interesting this week. If we see the dollar drop very sharply prior to the Fed announcement, it might push the Fed to only do 25. So it's going to be very important to keep an eye on this. What about gold and silver? What are they doing this morning? Well, the high in gold is 25.90. Just below 25.90. Right now we're at 25.83, up about $5. Silver, the high is 31.11. Right now we're at 30.92, or up 20 cents. What time is it right now? Because it's important to know what time it is and where I am. I'm in London and it's 8:04 a.m. So it's around 3 a.m. Eastern time in the US. What about the futures market for the stock market indices? Well, they're down slightly, nothing to write home about. What about the miners? Well, miners are a different animal. They're very highly speculative. You are buying kind of access to silver indirectly, but you also buying into a company, and there's a lot of variables in owning a company. You have to look at the geographical location, the geopolitical risks, political risks, labor risks of strikes, confiscation by governments, right? Mexico and things like that. You got to look at the management, how competent they are. There's all these different factors, but it's that as well is something that evolved in my investment or purchasing of silver. It was only 2 or 3 years after I got into gold and silver that I started looking at the mining companies. And I'm not saying you should take that long to do it now, but it's a good way to get exposure to silver, the silver miners. And where do you find the companies that you need to maybe get exposure to? Well, go into the silver ETFs, look at their prospectus and their holdings, and try to mimic it.
The coming days may prove pivotal for silver's trajectory and the broader currency landscape, with potentially far-reaching implications for the global financial system. The Fed's upcoming announcement could set the tone for monetary policy trends in the months ahead, potentially reshaping investment strategies and market dynamics worldwide. Share your perspective in the comment section. If the video resonates with you, join our community by subscribing to our channel and enabling notifications with the bell icon. Thank you for being a part of our community.